Actually, like for so many years, I think the biggest part for me lately, or I would say like last 5 years, it has been is that you got to balance. Yes, there's a time to go spend time on your videos, video games, whatever you want to do. But the second you put your foot into or when you log into your computer, these days you work from home, like this is your job and your expectation from 9 to 5, or depending on, I think I'm a very flexible kind of manager who's like, hey, if you can do your job in 5 hours, trust me, man, I'm the first one who will never ever call you.
Hey, welcome back to the Good News Podcast. I'm your host, Carlo Navarro, along with JD, Jonathan Darling here. We are I'm not in my normal seat today. I'm down in Florida. Jonathan's still in Knoxville for now. We got a great guest today. And, today we're diving deep into the world of high performance sales leadership, which is something that JD is really excited about. Him being on the sales side, I'm on the marketing side, obviously. But if you guys ever wondered about what it takes to not just meet but consistently exceed targets in a shifting market like today, our guest Suresh Bhagchandani has his journey over about a decade as a BDR and spent the last 7 years mastering this art of sales and sales leadership, sales management. I think we want to get to how that transition becomes today. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys. That's a very, very warm welcome. I'm really excited, and I was almost kind of like thinking like, man, like how should I prepare for this podcast? But I was like, you know what, man, I think I'm just gonna be myself, and then everything will just come like right from my heart. So that's the plan today.
I love it.
That's what
we're all about. That's all we're all about.
Thank you.
It's Suresh. I'm pumped about having you on because when Carlo and I, when we had this crazy idea of doing this podcast, we definitely wanted to talk about, the marketing side of things and how we believe that impacts everything when it comes to revenue generation. But, from my side, I understand and live currently as a VP of sales for a company where I understand the challenges in sales leadership and getting everybody, rowing the boat in the same direction and even the challenges that come from, which is really where my first question comes from, but those challenges of transitioning from a high-level sales performer, an individual contributor, and going out and crushing quotas to moving into a leadership role where now my impact isn't as much as an individual contributor, but how I help my team, grow as a salesperson. And so you obviously started out in sales, I think your first role being like a sales executive with Wells Fargo, right? In the banking world and moving into leadership. What is, looking back on your career and where you started and where you are now, in those individual contributing roles, where did you find or where did you learn, some of those fundamental skills or one of those fundamental things that you feel like has really impacted your leadership today? And what has that journey been like for you moving from an individual contributor into more of a leadership role?
Mm-hmm. Man, it's like a very loaded question. So I'll give you a little bit of background. So obviously the passion for sales comes in from college days, because obviously when you're in college, you're still having here and there kind of a gig to make sure you're making some extra money, because you want that good lifestyle in college. You can't just have a broke college lifestyle. It came from there, and obviously I was an economics major at UNC Chapel Hill. So the biggest part for me was like, okay, all right, finance and something else, and like sales kind of comes in. And then obviously I joined Wells Fargo as a personal banker, and that's when you interview, man, they make it show like, oh man, it's a sales role, like you'll be doing this quota, and I was like, jazz, excited. I'm like, man, I cannot wait, man. I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna crush this. And it just was like kind of like you join the first day and you're like, all right, so what am I doing? Like opening bank accounts? And I was like, okay, so I'll just kind of go back to like even further back, like when you move to America, the first thing that you dream is like, you've looked up so many movies, like you're thinking like big skyscrapers, like New York City, like LA, California, my God, Florida, Miami. South Beach, like all this thing. And then you land in like Goldsboro, North Carolina. And you're like, man, I felt like I was way better back home. Like, what is... And I'm talking 2000, so I think things have changed now. I'm talking 2009. Oh, no, sorry. I'm talking 2003, 2004 time frame.
Yeah.
You're like,
Okay.
I'm coming to America expecting like...
I was like, man, no big buildings. This is downtown. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I thought it was South Beach, like straight. I was like, man, like I will see fancy cars. My God, like, you know, people have money. There's opportunity. I'm like, oh my God.
North Carolina.
The exact same thing happened. Like, man, Goldsboro, it's a Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. The economy is just based on the Air Force Base. Nothing against the city. I mean, you got to learn so much out of it, but it's like a reality check. You're like, well, first of all, you got to take a step back and say, hey, man, thank you that I got to come to the country, which has opportunities. But then you're like, this was not the expectation, man. Like, first 6 months was kind of rough. I was like, oh my God, this was not expected. I thought that's what they show in the movies, like such a cool thing. Like, you know, everybody's rich, everybody drives a Ferrari. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
So same thing kind of happened with my Wells Fargo gig too. And I was like, okay. And I told my boss, I'm like, hey, you told me it is a sales role. This is not a sales role. They were like, dude, you're selling bank accounts. Like, do you realize you're giving me leads for mortgage and everything? I'm like, okay, my definition of sales was like, you know, I am building a value and I'm trying to squeeze the best out of that customer. Like, that's my goal is. And I'm selling a product where, in my case, they're just walking into the branch. And some of the tellers are just like, well, hey, this guy don't have an account. Did you want to talk? I'm like, sure. It's like literally I'm an order taker at that point in time.
You're like, man, that 7-year-old who just got their $25 for their birthday needs to open their first bank account. Let's sell the crap out of that.
And that guy probably got a check from his grandma or somebody and he wants to cash it. And you're like, yeah, no, to cash it, man, there's a $10 fee. So you want the $15 or you want to open an account and get it for full 25? So seriously, like I was still crushing that gig. Like I think I had, I think the way they kind of map it is like they don't go by the number of accounts you open. It's like number of solutions that you sell. So in a month, almost I was selling like 1,200 to 1,500, and all the other bankers were just like, all right, man, you need to take it easy. I'm like, this is the easiest thing on the planet, man. Like they're walking in. And there are times when nobody would be in my office, I'll be standing like right at the door. And I could already like spot them, all right, hey, he's the guy, or he's the girl. She don't have an account and I'm talking to them. And then from there, they're walking into my office and I'm opening an account. I'm like, oh, here you go. Account to credit cards, like everything else. So from there, one of my fraternity brothers actually reached out and said, hey man, like there's a startup. I'm not sure if you've been in for it, man, but it's like tech sales. I mean, sales is kind of like your thing. And we were just kind of like talking. I'm like, yeah, man, like I thought it was sales and I'm just opening bank accounts, man. So it's not the coolest thing, but I guess that's what sales is. He's like, no, man, I think tech sales is actually a little bit different. So if you would like, but the problem is like you will be joining from the bottom, which you'll be an SDR. And I was like, I mean, how bad it is? He's like, well, man, honestly, it's like a few months, but if you do good, sky's the limit. And I was like, oh, I mean, what's the worst can happen? From Goldsboro to Wells Fargo. I'm like, all right, what's the worst can happen? Going back to bank accounts, I'm like, all right, like let's just bet on myself or at least take a shot. And obviously he's my fraternity brother, so he's there. So he was like, well, Suresh, like I'm not going to tell you wrong, but I'm telling you, man, the people do make a good amount of money. But if you do it well, man, sky's the limit. And I'm like, all right. So obviously you come in there. Then again, like the first thing you see, like, all right, so it's a sales. And then the first thing is like, all right, it's a cold calling gig. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm okay to learn. 160 calls, straight cold calls where people have never heard about your company. You're just pitching and booking meetings. So either you make 160 calls or you book 6 meetings. One or the other. You get to go home. So till you don't do it, unless you send them like an end of day saying, hey, that's what happened. That's the reason I couldn't do this or this. But you got to hit any of those 2 options. Whichever you hit first, great. If not, then you got to send an end of day. So I did that for 4 months. Obviously, I did my part. And then you book these meetings for an individual contributor. So your destiny and everything else is on their hands. Assumption, the right guy or girl gets my demo and they sell it. If they sell, they get half, I get half. And assumption is that I hit my quota. So I was not taking no for an answer. I was like, man, I gotta get on this thing ASAP. Like I want to be on that side where I control the selling part of it because this is, and half the times, like, you know, and then you come, John, you know this thing, like, you know, some of the BDRs are like, they all have this like thing, oh man, I gave her a best lead. This lady was ready to buy.
Yeah.
What this person did, man, he doesn't know how to sell. I listened to the call. She didn't even ask. I'm like, That's the reason why you're a BDR. That's the reason why she's an individual contributor. So put the emotions out. You do your job and let her do the job. She knows what she's doing. So, and granted, there are some salespeople who are kind of not the best, but there's always that tug of war between like sales and marketing. Like, we obviously like, what did you do for me? Marketing, I gave you the MQL leads. You didn't follow up. Like, they were bad. They were shit. Like, they were not good. They were like, then you didn't give me a feedback. There's always that issue between sales and marketing, and same thing with like BDR to like. So I did that for 4 months. I moved into an individual contributor role where I was like, all right. And that's where my boss was like, all right, Suresh, so whatever you sell, you book, you close, do whatever you want to do. This is your quota. Anything past that is times 5. Sky's the limit. And I'm like, for real, like, no bullshit. They were like, no, Suresh, this is a growth company, everything times 5. So the best way to calculate is your quota is $1,000 in MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue. So after you sell, anything past that, times 5. Simple math. You can calculate your commissions that easy. And I'm like, huh. So I think the first month, I think I hit 110%. And since after that, I was hitting like almost like 140, 130, because I'm like, all right, this is, and the trick behind that is, if I go back and see like, okay, what would work for anybody new trying to join, it's just the basics. Basics, consistency, and do the thing every freaking day. I know it gets boring. It's like a very working at a factory, like a factory type of job, but you are just a factory industry producer. You just sit, make those calls, send the emails. Like these days, it's actually big into like email cadences. Do that funnel campaign, man. Like just do the basics. Boring, annoying, keep doing it. Don't give up. There will literally be people raising their hand saying, oh yeah, I want to talk. I want to know more about this. But you got to like just hound them. Either they tell you like, do not call me ever again, man. You call me, I'm going to report you. Great. Hey man, get it. Life is good. No, I'll make sure nobody calls you, but you better tell me. And then same thing kind of goes for your sales follow-ups as well too. Like, if you're not hearing back, you got to harass them. Like literally tell them, like, hey man, like I'm a grown up man. Just tell me no. It's okay. I'll move on, but just tell me no. Just don't keep telling me, oh man, I forgot. And like, come on. And at some point of time, like if you have to be like, because you're in a monthly quota, so you have to be like, hey man, are you gonna buy this or not? Yes or no? Tell me. It's really funny. Like I had an email campaign where I would just write the subject line saying tigers, and then on the context it would be like, I hope you're not eaten by one because I haven't heard from you in like 2 weeks. So a lot of the people would just like click and open that email, and they're like, oh man, you got me. All right, man, like I get it. No, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm like, well, thanks. That's all. So I can close my opportunity and move on because my boss is on me. He's like, yo, man, you got 50 opportunities. What's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm waiting on them. I did everything. I'm waiting on the credit card or whatever that case is. So that email campaign actually worked. So from there, I had an opportunity to actually do a go-to-market strategy because as they were in a growth phase, they were like, hey, we need somebody who can actually help us expand this product into pharmaceutical, manufacturing, industrial type of segment. And it seems like, you're more of an entrepreneur kind of guy, like who want to probably like figure out like, how should we pitch? How should we train the lead generation people? How should we coach these individual contributors? And what exactly marketing campaigns or like industry type of partnerships that we should get into so we can sell this product into it. So I did that for almost 3 to 4 years. And then given, obviously, Jonathan, you would say that too, every year there's a new org change, probably a new boss comes in, and then the new boss has a new vision. Like, all right, we're not doing this, we're doing this. This is where we see the 5-year plan. I'm like, all right, as long as I have a job, I'll do whatever you want me to do, man. I'll just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. I will deliver. So from there, I think they moved on to more along the lines of like, hey, we really want you to like manage these people and like turn these people around. Then I'm like, all right, so you just want me to turn these C people into an A? Like, he's like, no, Suresh, they're not all C's, but 1 or 2 are A, but rest of them are like B and C's. I'm like, all right, so turn those around. So the best part for that is make sure, I would say that, and I kind of go back to saying, first of all, like Tribal Leadership is one of the best books that I've read, and I think that's where it's something like people actually appreciate. And you have to kind of feel what they're feeling, because a lot of times when a person moves from individual contributor to a leadership role, they quickly forget in 2 years that what's behind those phone calls. Because I can sit in the meetings all day long and go back to my team and say, oh yeah, man, the market says this. Man, get on the call. Get on the call. The first thing customers say, I don't want this, man. I do not want to renew. I want to pay you less money. And you calling me for more money? No. And that's what I tell like every single executive. I'm like, get on the call. And you'll listen. First objection is like, yeah, the renewal. Yeah, man, I don't want this. Before even I talk about new product or anything, And that's the first thing. And especially after pandemic, that's just gotten worse. You're like, oh man, yeah, man, the market is so like, no, man, I can't afford $100,000. Probably 50. You're like, oh, now there's a gap. Forget about expansion. I got to save first. And you're like, I had prepped so much on this call, and this is like, oh, this is worse. That's what I tell my executives, that even me myself until today, get on the calls. At least one call a week per person, just fly on the wall. At least you understand the lay of the land of the market, of what customers are asking. What exactly are they thinking? So at least you're coaching in the right direction than just saying, that's what Deloitte said to me, this is where it's going, the AI and everything else. Hey guys, start pitching this AI product. Not everybody is on that AI journey. Think about it.
Yep.
We all might be very tech savvy. We're using all ChatGPT. We have our customers. Not all the customers are. I mean, think about it. Like, some of our partners or even like our cousins, they're like, yeah, that AI thing, man, is cool, but nah. I mean, they're a little bit behind. And same thing for like smartphones as well too. Like, remember when they came out, there were still people who were behind. They're like, man, I don't think I'm ready for that. Like, this is too much. And then slowly kind of sort of like came on, but you got to understand the customer, like, as to where they are. And then you got to ask the question. You can't just go back and say, well, Deloitte says the market is, or McKinsey says blah, 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 and hey, you need to buy this AI tool. They're like, yeah, I don't need it.
Man, I think, Suresh, I think something you said there is probably one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in sales, and something that I still really believe more than anything else is, as a leader with my sales team, and this is something Carlo and I talk a lot about in sports as well. Sports are a big part of my life, coaching different aspects of sports. Carlo, the same thing, is, that understanding of the basics and being able to do the basics that are boring, that are just absolutely boring, that suck sometimes, and that aren't fun, that doing those at a high level and doing it as if you love them and excelling at those, I think is an absolute game changer, and never losing that perspective of what it's like actually in the field and being on the calls, getting on the calls, understanding on a day-to-day basis, and not forgetting that, like, man, making those phone calls and doing those things, going through those objections, like, those are real things. And it doesn't matter what research or data says or anybody else says. If you get disconnected from customer facing as a sales leader, it's really hard to help coach your team through some of the different challenges and stuff that they're going to find in the market. Right. And I know, Carlo, I know you've got a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm just kind of going back to what you were talking about when you're transitioning. And a question that I actually have before that is, when you're saying you're telling the younger folks who are getting into this game right now, just go in and do it, be consistent, do the work. What do you say is the mindset that they need to be taking to that? What's sort of like maybe a hack or some sort of method that they need to keep in mind? Because it can get mundane for them. But how do they? What would you suggest that these young sales professionals sort of keep in mind, or what's sort of the attitude they need to have, or a strategy, I guess, to keep this mundane exciting and keep looking ahead?
So two things actually come into mind. Number one is, given we are in such a social media kind of world where our mind is like amount of videos and things that are thrown at us. I mean, given when we were growing up, it was not the case. But now at least we know, this right for me, it's not like, okay, I'm 30 minutes, but like a lot of the younger folks are, the life revolves. Like, I mean, the worst these days is like the communication. Like, remember back in days when we were growing up, like email was like, hey, I'll send you an email. And these days, like, email, oh no, text. For us, it's probably like texting. And then for the newer, like the youngers, like emojis and like one word, one letter. That's the communication that they like to have. And you're in a different ballgame these days. Email, they're like, oh, dude, email?
Okay, Grandpa, send me an email.
If you want a fast response from like these younger kids, you got to text them with really one-liner or one words and whatever that is. So I think in that kind of scenario, the biggest piece I would say is that you have to keep this as a transaction mode. Okay, you have a job, they're paying you. This is a transaction. There's no emotions attached to this job. They are asking you to make this job. You do it without emotion. It's like you be an emotionless person saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this every single day, and I will give you my 110%. That's the mindset you got to bring in every single day. The second you get emotional saying, oh my God, this lady said, oh, you have an accent. And just imagine how many times did I hear that on the call? My God, who is this guy? Now they're
What do you mean? What do you mean, Suresh? Like, I think it's interesting, and I know it's a little bit
and you get so much rejections left and right, like regardless of whatever ethnicity you come back from, even if it's like a typical white American person too, he gets rejected every single day. A girl or boy, like, yeah, I don't need it, don't call me back again. And they all have an anxiety attack. Oh my God. And that's where like the whole emotion speech you got to keep aside, like, hey, you're not going to see this person at Target, okay, when you go to local Target. They don't even know who this person is. Move on to your next call. Quickly you move on. And I would not even take a 30 minutes break saying, oh, I need to get a clean air. No, because that's where your mind is going to be like, oh my God, she said that. Next call is going to be like that too, man. These all people, this job is not for me. I was better off being a cash register person at Dollar Tree. I don't know what I did. Like my friend said to me, I can make, and that 30 minutes are the worst 30 minutes. That's something I tell every single person who joins in that, hey man, you got a rejection, you better get on the call right now and keep calling. Because that's where your mindset
that is so,
the more you're going to wait, your mind's going to keep telling you stories about, oh my God, this is my cousin, my uncle, my dad is in sales. Oh, that 30 minutes after that, dude, that's game over. You're done. Like the recovery from that is almost impossible unless you're a very strong-minded person. But if that's not the case, then like you got to like start making calls same day. Same minute, just hang up and say, all right, move on to the next one. And then this is the list I need to go through.
Yeah. Suresh, that is so interesting because there you go.
Book right here. Like talking about this book, Rejection Proof by Jai Zhang. He set up like I think it was like a 90 day I'm going to go out and get rejected by anybody and everybody I can, just because he struggled with rejection and it was emotional for him. It so often I was literally having this conversation the other day. So often we attach our identity in who we are as a person, as a human, to the rejection that we face in sales. And when we get rejected in sales, what we automatically believe, not everybody, but what's believed is they are rejecting me, the person, who I am, what I'm capable of, and not the product or the service or the solution that we're providing. And this book, if any of our listeners are looking for a good book that want to learn how to overcome objection, Rejection Proof by Jai Zhang, and he goes out and literally he made a whole YouTube series about this too. Like he documented it on YouTube where like he would go into Krispy Kreme donuts, asking them to make a different type of donut, going in asking questions to literally get rejected. But what he found was the more he did it, the more people said yes. And it's I think it's an incredible, I think it's so incredible, Suresh, because all too often in sales, I think we, especially new in the game, the mental side of the game is so hard to understand that rejection is just learning. And what happened before doesn't have to dictate what happens next.
The future,
But we take all of that from the past, and it ends up being an anchor. Right? And I know, Carlo, I mean, we see it. We see the mental side of this. This is what you and I talk about more than anything else, is the mental side of how we show up as our best in these types of areas, because we know if the mind's not right, the execution and the ability to go out and do whatever it is you're choosing to do at a high level is, you can't.
And I think it's so interesting because I'd love to get Suresh's take on this too, because, you know, when you said being emotionless, right? You know, when these young folks the world they live in is full of emotion and rejection on comments. And so now they have this world where, you know, they're getting likes or not likes or the comments, and they're taking that in, you know, and then they got to shift to a job where we got to say, hey,
we're the big boy pants.
And so there's this, like, I think there's this battle that they have as young folks, but also would love your take as a leader now. Your job must be completely different trying to coach now than ever before, because they're bringing a lot of, I don't want to say baggage, but they're bringing some stuff from social media, from everything else, that they're getting influenced with the world and trying to say, hey, you got focus. How do we do this? I struggle with that with my kids, and it's like everything's on demand. I call them the on-demand generation. You know, they make maybe they make 5 phone calls like, I didn't get a sale. You know, what's the coaching like? How do you balance that now? How has it changed? You know, over
There's been a big shift actually, like for so many years. I think the biggest part for me lately, or I would say like the last 5 years, it has been is that you got to balance. You know, yes, there's a time to go spend time on your videos, video games, whatever you want to do. But the second you put your foot into, or when you log into your computer, these days you work from home, like this is your job and your expectation from 9 to 5, or depending on, I think I'm a very flexible kind of manager who's like, hey, if you can do your job in 5 hours, trust me, man, I'm the first one who will never ever call you. But if I see that you're on sales loft, you're doing your part, you're building meeting, you're tracking, I'm the last one that you're going to hear from. But if you're not, I'm the one who's been messaging you every single day, like, what's going on? What do you need help with? How can I help? And they know exactly the boundaries offered. So another piece, like you have to build a trust with them, because this is not just like a stick or a carrot kind of situation, because those times are gone. Like, you know, probably the worst case scenario is like, my rule is like, you don't water the weeds. If you've kind of figured out like, all right, this is a lost case, you don't water the weeds. You just like move on and let it go and find somebody else, because every single time you got to tell your team, like, guys, just an FYI, you got to think this as a God's work. You don't do it, somebody else will come do it. And there are people on the streets waiting, desperately in line to take your spot. If you're not performing, there's somebody else waiting to take your spot. Even if I'm at number 1, somebody's waiting to take my spot. So I will keep performing every single day and deliver. The day I stop delivering, that's where they're coming like that. The day I'm doing the best, they're like, oh my God, he's the best sales manager on the planet. A quarter you miss, I'm like, oh God, Suresh has no idea what he's doing. That's how life is. So you are living on the edge, but there are people out there how to take your job. So do you want this job? If it's that important for you, just do what I'm asking you. And then as a manager, like you have to kind of support them on their personal and professional and spiritual journey, depending on how old or what kind of the person that you're working with. I try to actually coach them on all 3 of things. Like, hey man, I get it, there's a job, but what else is going on outside work? Okay, like what else can I help you? I mean, your life is a mess, dude. Like, I think you need a little bit of stability. That's something you ought to talk, real life things. You got to help them find some mentors, because these days, I mean, that's a very good support system. And that's one thing one of my managers was like, you know, man, I only have 1. I'm like, dude, you're pretty stingy. They're free. You should have as many as you can. I mean, think about this as your board of directors. It's like, hey, today I'm not feeling good. I'm depressed. Who's the person you should call and just chat?
Yeah.
Or whose house should you go right now? That's your mentor. You're just walking there. You need a career advice. That's the person. This is the boy or girl you need to call. Or, man, at my home, things are mess with my mom and dad. You need some help with relationship. Like, you need to have that person, and it's sky's the limit, man. You can have as many mentors you want, but you got to constantly keep finding who you can look up to. And that support system or that network will actually help you. And that's one thing like managers help is that, have you find a mentor, man? Like, find somebody outside. Go to a networking event. Go to a gym. Like, stop hanging out with people that you went to college with. College is done 10 years ago. They're going to keep holding you back. I get it. You need some fresh blood in your friend circle. Find new friends. Find people who are in the same financial background with you. You make good money. Half of your friends don't. That's where they're like, keep asking you to go out drinking and you make those wrong choices. You need to find people who are serious about their health. They're making good money just like you. There's a career potential. And where do you find these people? You don't find them every day at the bar. You got to go to workout. You got to go to networking events. You got to go to like TED Talks events. Like, you got to go to events because those are the people over there, and that's where you got to make new friends. The hardest part is once you graduate college, man, to find a new friend who aligns with your wavelength, because you're like, man, I'm here, and then, oh my God, like I can't be friends with him, man. He's like not there with me. So that's the hardest part, because in college you made so many friends. Outside college, your all friends are people you work with, which is again like a very toxic piece, because one wrong person who's upset who didn't get a merit increase and is going to muddy the whole water for every single person. That's like, yes, it's good to have friends, but you never hang out with them outside. No
You can't fly with eagles, Suresh, if you're hanging out with turkeys.
Yes, my God. Amen. Yes,
right?
You cannot. You shouldn't be doing that.
And I think, you know, I love what you said. Mentor, like you ask somebody, well, I got one mentor. Don't be stingy. They're free, right? Mentorship is free. And I think I think all too often, I agree. We hang out with people in a circle that are comfortable, right? That and and it's hard to start being different in a circle where everybody's the same or everything's been the same, because there's tension there, right? And always wanting to be in that room where you're not the smartest person in the room, but you're being challenged and you're being grown and made uncomfortable, I think is huge. And I want to mention something, because I think it's interesting. You said, when you look at being a leader, you're building the entire person, right? The mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical side of the person, encouraging them to be active and all of this stuff. And I noticed something because I did a little stalking of you. No offense. And we're going to be great. We're going to be great friends, Suresh. I can already tell. You and I are going to love it.
That's awesome.
We're going to be close friends. You posted something the other day, or actually you posted something yesterday on LinkedIn.
Oh man, yeah, last week's trip, yeah.
So you had a trip planned to Disney.
Yes.
And your son got sick.
Dude, I took a week off, me and my wife, and my wife is in sales too. I'm like, taking a week off right after kickoff, it's tough, man. Like, we had a plan, and he's in a year-round school, so we were like, all right, he's tracked out 1 week. And everything was planned. We were like trying to finish up things. I'm like, all right, Monday night we fly. Sunday night, man, he had a fever. And my wife's like, let me just go to the doctor. And the doctor tested, like, oh, he got flu. And I'm like, whoa. Then we were trying to debate, all right, the doctor said, oh, there's a pill, there's a new thing, which is not covered by insurance. It's $150. It's one and done. Or you want to do the 5-course thing. We asked him, like, listen, man, I'm not spending $150 if I want to take this pill. So yes or no? He's like, no, the pill is too big, Dad. No. And he's 6 years old, which I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like, all right, 5-day course. And then I was like, and me and my wife were like, okay, we're spending almost $8,000. And by Wednesday, Thursday, assumption is that he's okay. And then he's huffing and puffing, probably might not have an energy. I'm like, I don't even know if this is a good time. And luckily we booked it via agent. So we were like, just asked if we move this. So we were able to actually move it. Then we were like, all right, so now what do we do? Because Sunday went by, he was sick. Tuesday onwards, he was watching TV. And I'm like, all right, this was not expected. And then obviously I can't go back to my work because they're like, we canceled meetings because Suresh, you said you were out of office, and now you're saying you're in the office. Okay. And I'm like, okay, but then I'm just doing my other stuff that I'm doing. Then we were like, all right, let's do a skiing trip, which is pretty close, which is North Carolina. So we were like, all right, let's do a skiing trip. So that's what we did on Wednesday till Saturday.
Traveled over Asheville. Did you go over to Asheville, Boone?
There's a mountain called Sugar Mountain.
Sugar Mountain, yeah,
that's where we went. Yep.
I used to sell the Sugar Mountain ski resorts. I used to sell them their toilet paper back in the day. My first sales job. They were one of my customers.
That's such a good gig, and we have a place actually over there. So we were like, all right, what's the fastest or the quickest way where we don't have to spend a lot of money? Because last minute things, right? We were like,
yep.
Yeah.
I don't want to travel. I was like, all right, it's 2-3 hours away. And I'm not a big skier. We were like, we want to make sure if he learns, then the assumption is me and my wife are going to actually learn too, because we love skiing. So I'm like, it's a perfect excuse that we can kind of get on it. So that's that's what happened that week. So the post that you're reading, I'm like, we're just staying home and playing Uno.
Yeah.
Spending time at home.
But
good.
But the reason why I ask about that is because as you were talking about, you have different people come in on your team. They have the idea that a person can just, as soon as they walk in the door of their job, especially in a sales role, and just shut off any and every emotion or thought that they've been having because of their personal life is incredibly difficult, because those challenges come up, like sick kids, canceled trips, all of these things happen, and yet we still need to show up and we still need to do our work. We've still got to be able to come in and execute. And I think as a leader, when we aren't developing the whole person and teaching them resilience and helping them learn how to be resilient and how to handle hard things, then our expectation of them in their role probably shouldn't be as high as what it would be when those things happen, right? And so, I loved your transparency on LinkedIn of being like, look, and you put in there, joy doesn't live in destinations, it lives in presence, right? And I think as a leadership doesn't happen because of, you know, the trip you take with your team or how cool you are as a boss in your one-on-ones, but real leadership happens and development happens in the being present in people's lives to help them learn how to navigate those things so they can still show up as their best. And I'm curious, was that a shift for you in having to learn how to care for the whole person and not just the person in the role? Like, was that something that you learned from a leader? Was that something that you learned through your leadership? Like, oh, if I want to be more impactful with my team and to be able to help them drive better results, I've got to make sure I'm developing them as a person. Where did that mindset or leadership ideology come from?
I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm selfish, but
Please, no.
but as a friend, I will be real with you. As I said, there's no emotions attached. If they are successful, then I'm successful. If they make money, that means I get to take money home. So whatever it takes, like I'm just trying to replicate myself. Like, what do I do on a day-to-day basis? What I'm thinking, my job is to replicate this person so he does the same thing that I'm doing. So he makes money, I make money, and we're happy people. If you're not making money, means my paycheck is gone, and I'm not okay with this. So I will do whatever it takes to support you, because I will do whatever it takes to fight for that money that I'm supposed to make. And if I have to teach you, or if I have to like train you, if I have to train myself, I'm going to be a replication of you. So I'm the one who will be drinking the first Kool-Aid and then passing on to you. So I'm not the person who'll be like, oh, read the podcast, man, and then just think motivation and show up tomorrow to work. And then here I'm like waking up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like,
but there's
and do it myself first and give them and lead by an example. Like, you know, if I'm not doing it, they're like, yeah, this guy don't even show up, man, on time. Like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, be punctual. This guy's always late. I mean, that's one thing. Like, I got to make sure I show up saying, if I can do it, somebody who has English as a second language, I really don't see you have an excuse to do this, man. Like, I'm here to help you because I have a selfish interest in you, because if you perform well in your territory, which means you're going to make a lot of money, which means I'm going to hit my attainment.
That's well, and I'm going to challenge you a little bit, Suresh. Sure, I'm going to challenge you a little bit, because I would argue, while you say you're selfish, because when they make money, you make money. Just based on the little bit of research I've done, I'm going to guess it's not just about the money.
Yeah, money is just an example, but it's more, if I'm doing it, means if they're successful, means I'm successful. So we win as a team and we lose as a team. So I don't like to be in a losing team.
Yeah, but I would also say too that
sell it for them if they are not able to do it, to teach them. So I'm not the person who will be like sit back saying, put fingers saying you didn't do it. I'm here in the trenches with you.
Yeah, but I think you're also
asking questions. They're like, oh, if he's doing it, means I need to do it too. So I got to learn from him. Yes.
But I think you also care a lot about being able to take care of your family, and that matters to you. Like, and that's what that money provides for you, right? Is your ability to care for the people that you love in your family, to be able to, I saw in your about on your LinkedIn that you were able to retire your mom. Like, it's not necessarily the money, but it's what the money allows you to do as someone to care for and to lead your own home, right? And so I would say your pursuit isn't selfish at all, because you've got things that you want to be able to steward and lead personally at a different level, and be able to put your family in a position to, and your son in a position to be able to achieve and chase after whatever it is that they're wanting to chase after. And we don't go to work for free, right? We don't do these things.
It proves your passion too, Jonathan. Like, this is something like one of my VPs was asking me the other day. Like, seems like you have a small business, which is a sock business. You recently acquired a gym. You have a real estate portfolio. I mean, do you really need this job? And I was trying to explain to him. I was like, I don't think you realize, like, people think job is just like a paycheck to paycheck thing. This actually fuels my passion. This actually fuels my investments that I want to do. So you need to realize, like, how much of my selfish interest I have in this job is that I'm showing up because the amount of money I'm going to make here, it fuels everything outside the 5 o'clock that I'm going to do. If I need to buy, if I need to spend money, like whatever I want to do, this thing fuels it. So think about it, like this is your major engine. What are you going to do? You're not going to protect it. You're not going to maintain it. Or you're going to be like, this is just a passive income. Just let it go. I'm like, no, this is where there's a commission structure built in for a reason. There are perks involved to it. So you're going to call it selfish, whatever. Like I have a highly interested in this, that I'm going to do everything, because whatever money I'm going to take home, it fuels all my weird passions that I have outside that I want to buy or do. This is where it's fueling it from. So if I'm not going to maintain this well or oil this engine well, I'm the one who's at loss. And that's the reason whatever it takes to be successful is taking care of the team. And obviously you have to lead by an example, because that's what I like to do outside work. So I try to tell them, like, hey, it's okay. This is life. But you got to fight through it.
I love it. I love it. Carlo, I know you've got a question.
No, I was making a point about when he was talking about, going back to what fuels him. But there's a really important distinction that he made earlier around when he said that if his sales folks aren't performing really well, I'm going to call you every day. But the thing that stuck out to me most was he said, "How can I help?" Versus sort of what you think of traditional, or not traditional, but other sales leaders say, "Well, what's going on? Why aren't you hitting your?" Suresh said, "How can I help? What's going on?" I think that's a unique distinction that I wanted to point out. That is very different, right? And it kind of connects with his wanting to care for the whole person. So I just wanted to point that out. That I think that's super important. I think people are very fortunate to have sales leaders like that, and I think we need more folks like that. I think it helps the younger professionals to achieve kind of their goals.
Well, and there's such a great coaching philosophy around asking that question of how can I help, right? Because I think oftentimes as a leader, and this was something, Suresh, I did very early in my leadership with teams, is I would call them and tell them, hey, it looks like you're not doing this, or it looks like this is going on, or it looks like that. And what I was doing is I was giving them feedback from my perspective, right, of where I thought they were, where I thought they were challenged or struggling or whatever that may be. But I wasn't allowing them the opportunity to kind of audit themselves, to look at where are the areas that I may be struggling, where I do need help, right? And when I learned to ask those questions so that they could work through the process of, hey, well, I'm doing this and this is what happened, but this is where it seems to be that I'm getting hung up, or I'm hitting this obstacle. All of a sudden it becomes one of those things where you're helping them self-coach themselves through the process, because that's how they really learn it. You can tell somebody hey, this is how you just bought a gym. My degree was in exercise science. I went to school to be a strength coach, right? I've been working out since I was 14 years old. I can go into the gym and I can tell somebody how they need to do a squat better. But yes, letting them go through it and tell them, hey, where are you finding your sticking points? Where are you finding, like, what are these things? What is happening when this is going on? And they start working through the process. It helps them, one, identify where their challenges actually are, so that me as a coach or me as a leader can actually speak into those things directly and get way quicker to the point of where that coaching or development needs to happen, right? Whether that be, whatever that looks like. And I think that's so crucial for leaders. And I love that you asked that question. I actually wrote that down, Carlo. It was because as soon as he said it, I was like, great freaking questions. What Suresh, like, one of the things that you had shared prior to coming on here was that in the role that you're currently in as a sales leader, there's been a little bit of a shift in, like, your sales cycles are a little bit longer, and taking a new product to market and building that excitement for your team to go out and pursue those relationships with customers. How has how have you shifted your leadership, or how has your leadership had to shift in going from a product that may have a shorter sales cycle to one to where there may be more touch points along the process, and something where you've got to keep building those relationships to move it forward? What have you found has been the biggest challenge for the sales reps in those long sales cycles, and what are you learning, or what are you implementing to help them lead through that process now?
The biggest piece we learned, and obviously it was more like a mistake that some of the guys were making, was that they thought that, oh, and they'll buy. Because that's typically, all right, what's holding you back? All right, 20% off, sure. But with this new product, which is actually a little bit more complicated to deploy, I'm like, okay, you can't be giving out discounts, first of all. And second of all, you only give discount when they raise an objection saying, hey man, money's tight. Oh, glad you mentioned, what's the budget? I mean, that's a coaching thing. But then another piece that I had to explain them is that with that longer sales cycle, you have to realize how you're building pipeline. The first 2 quarters is the time for pipeline, because it will take you the next 2 quarters to close. In the past, it was like in a quarter, you build a pipeline, you can probably close it down in that same month or next month onwards, or by the quarter ended, you clean the whole house. But times have changed, and the rules of games have changed, where you got to build the first 2 quarters like heavy into pipeline building mode, like no question asked. Because if one guy or one girl says no, or $100,000 deal doesn't comes in, you can't make up. You're like, oh man, I'm already in Q4. Nobody's gonna buy $100,000 right away. So I'm like, you need to have that in the first 2 quarters. Like that's what we need to be focused on. I mean, if you're not selling, I'm okay, but as long as you are building a 3x pipeline for me, 2.5 to 3x, depending on how you did, we are happy. I think, trust me, we have the biggest challenge. I told them, like, you don't want to be in a situation where it's end of the quarter and you're like, man, I got nothing to sell. What do you mean nothing to sell? No, no, everything I had, man, either it got pushed out or nothing. I'm like, that's a problem. Or we did not have enough deals in the pipe. And that's where we have to go back to saying, like, I don't want to be in a Q4 situation saying, Suresh, every single opportunity I had, I've called, either they bought it or they're not, and that's it. I have nothing else. So you should have enough where you're like, oh man, I still have 5 more that I can. And that's something I tell them, like, you got irons in the fire. So don't promise me, but that you are probably working on a deal on the sideline, which you can pull in if you need to. When times come, like, $100,000 deal said, I don't want this. Now you got to make up, like, then that's where you call that person saying, hey, things have kind of accelerated. I know we've been working for 6 months. What would it take so we can get you in this fiscal year? And you got to have 5 or 6 of them up your sleeve, because if you're in sales, I mean, not to sound like I'm like sandbagging or whatever, but you got to have some of the deals up your sleeves, because it's a very volatile kind of thing. Like, if everything goes according to plan, man, you would not be in sales. AI would be doing the job. Like, something or other where a deal will not come in, or deal will come in short, saying, I told you 10, 100 licenses, I need 50, whatever. Like, these things will happen all day long. And your bosses will be on you, even if you're tracking well. What else you got? What else you got? I'm like, I'm already at 120. Yeah, what else you got? I'm sure you got something. Like, I'm trying to stay for next year too, man. Like, come on, you got to survive. Like, next quarter, whatever. So you got to have, like, some of those deals which are not closing situation, but a good relationship where when the next quarter starts or a quarter after, they're ready to roll. So you have more pipeline influx and you have time to actually build pipeline, because you need that runway time frame. That's what has been like my coaching methodology. And I think they kind of understood that pretty quickly, because I told them, like, dude, you're going after them so quickly. They're not going to buy this in 1 week. You got to give them at least 2 months. Let the partner kind of do his part, and you just sit back and wait for the PO. And in the meanwhile, what you're doing is pretty much sharpening your edges, building more and more pipeline.
Yeah.
Cadences, going back to people who cancel, anybody who has old SKUs, you're going after them. Not only that, you're going through like cross sell as well too. Like any of the products that any of the customers have and they don't have any presence for our product, you're sending them an email or connecting with them on LinkedIn. Actually, LinkedIn has been a big game changer for us, and that's one thing. A lot of the salespeople, what they do is like, they're good at their job, but they forget to connect. And they always say, like, man, I don't want to connect on Facebook, and I think LinkedIn is turning to Facebook. I'm like, that's the reason why there's a difference between Facebook and LinkedIn. They need to see in your professional career, what are you doing? What kind of shout outs are you getting from your boss? What kind of credibility you have? You hit quota, like all these things your customers are watching, and every single time they see like, oh my God, Jonathan is crushing the game. He's like the top seller. Second, you call them, like, man, they trust you already, 100%. You don't have to build a trust with the customer. They're like, oh yeah, I know him. My God, he crushes quota every single day. He gets so many shout outs from XYZ. I'm like, that's where it is. And if you're switching career or switching jobs, you have no idea. The customer's still watching. Like, oh yeah, last time when I spoke to you, you were in that role. Like, hey, congrats, man. Like, how's that going? So it's pretty much like you both are kind of keeping up with like relationship wise, and you don't need to sit down and comment. If you really want to, take the step, but at least you both are kind of watching, like, hey man, you went from this product to this. Looks like we went from Autodesk to like Box now. Like, hey, how's life been for you? And they'll be like, oh man, you've been keeping up with me. Wow. Like, just imagine if you meet your friends on LinkedIn, I'll be like, oh wow. Like 5 years on, they're like, oh man, you were there, and how's life? Like, what happened? Like, what's changed? How are you taking it? How's the family taking it? How's your mental health on this? And that's where customers are like, man, you're my best friend. Whatever you need.
I love it. I sent you a connection, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
No, I love that, man, and I think we could probably go into a whole conversation today, if we wanted to, about the importance of LinkedIn, the importance of building that familiarity and connecting with customers and playing the long game, right? Of like, hey, sometimes this is a long relationship game where it may not be the right fit right now. But if I can stay top of mind and show people a little bit more of what I'm about, who I am as a person, who I am as a seller, I think it's incredibly crucial. Now I've got to ask, and wanted, before we came to the end of our podcast, I wanted to ask about this. Mm-hmm. Exec socks.
Yes.
So as soon as I hopped on with Carlo, I was like, bro, this dude founded a company called Exec Socks.
I literally have like some of them like right in the.
I love it. Yeah. Grab some. Yeah, grab some. So
Lighthouse one, by the way. So yeah.
So tell me where, because that's I don't normally like. I think you're probably the second person I've ever come across that has founded some sort of company with socks, and so I'm curious where did that come from, and like what was kind of the thought behind that? Because it looks, I mean, almost 10 years now. Mm-hmm. You've been running Exec Socks. Where did that come from, and why was that something that you were like, oh yeah, I could get into helping people cover their feet and like look good while they're doing it?
So actually the whole idea started early on, where like Happy Socks was a thing, and I think they're still a thing actually. They didn't have like a big US presence. I think they're more like Europe presence. And the problem is like, man, those were like $15-20 a pair. And they're nice socks. There's nothing against them. I think it's just lately that all the fashion brands have started coming out with like any kind of like weird designs and whatnot. And that's where you were like, okay, $15-20 is a lot, man. I mean, I'm not that rich. I just joined the sales team. Like, yeah, I'm not there yet. But there should be a sock which everybody should be able to afford, like $10 a pair, something like that. Or you get something delivered. So people who are traveling, what if there's not a store? And I'm talking like 2011, 12, 13, like those time frames. I'm like, okay, there's none, because unless you can grab one, or you did not have Amazon Prime those days, like that 2-hour delivery and whatnot, or Walmart, where you pick it up an hour. It used to be still like 3-4 days. So that's where the whole idea came in. Like, a sock is something which is an underutilized accessory for men's, and these days actually use unisex. And you want to keep it like a very price per point that a rich, poor to even a college kid who wants to actually buy one, he can afford it. So it's not like, a luxury item that, oh my God, to buy the fancy ones now, I'll buy the ones which are on sale at Walmart. Like, you could buy the same thing. And then now the challenge is there's basically levels of that piece, where some people are moving from black to like stripes, and some people have kind of advanced into like lighthouse, where they're like, dude, like bring it on. Like, I live in North Carolina, there's lighthouse, like, oh yeah. Some people are like advanced into like pineapples, to like, you name it, to like flamingos. Those are advanced level people. They're like, oh man, like if I don't have those, like, this is boring. So the way we kind of did the revenue stream, and I think that's something I'll tell you, like the reason for the businesses and everything else is like, when you start in a sales career, and it was in a monthly recurring revenue, I'm talking 2011. So we were in a situation where if you don't hit your quota 1 month, man, you don't have a job. So you're pretty much like on that sword to like make sure you survive. And every single month, there's no like parachute or something like, oh, a quarter you missed, it's okay. You have another quarter to like make it up. Like, no, it was like, yo, man, 1 month you missed, next month you're out. So that's the first thing mindset coming from an immigration side. Like, all right, if I don't have a job, what will I do? Like I need to have some sort of source of income, right? But then I do have to make sure like doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working, but I'm going to perform here, but I need something else to do what I like to do. And from there, actually, all these other things kind of came into fruition. We're like, and then now obviously like we're in a more of a quarterly kind of like pips and rolls, and I'm like, but the mindset is still there. Like, what if I don't have a job? You just think about it, like you're still working. I told you like every single day when I'm performing, you are the golden child. The day you stop performing, a day you have a low quarter or slow year, that's the first day you're like the stepchild. Like, oh man, he has no idea. We got to find somebody else. And I don't blame them. That's how the name of the game is. But I try to make sure like, I'm performing on a daily basis, but I want to keep sure that what ifs, and what ifs, like, I mean, obviously everybody likes to have a luxurious lifestyle, right? Nobody wants to just be paycheck to paycheck. Like I'm waiting for my commission check. Come on, man. That shouldn't be a question.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing that, it means like you're just not managing your finances right. Like, I mean, you're probably early in the stages, but if you're 40 years old, this shouldn't be the case. You've already learned enough in your life that 40 to 50 is where you should be waiting on the check to come in. Like that's bad financial decision. Like you got to do better with that.
Yeah.
Well. So that's where it came in. So I think literally, I still remember like my ×5 accelerator. We were living such a frugal lifestyle, and my wife still gives me hell about it. Like, man, we didn't take no vacations because we were pretty much spending all that money into like real estate. Like, okay, rental to like passive incomes. Like, okay, I still have a job, but I can just sit down and work somewhere else. What else could I do? Because and even until today, she's like, yeah, like early on, God, we've not traveled. So and so friend went to Paris. I'm like, but sweetie, don't forget, like we have a portfolio. Because back in days, like you could pick one up for like $70,000 to $100,000, and now those same things are like $350,000. I'm like, you have a passive income coming, so you at least have a peace of mind that if both of us don't have a job, then what will you do?
And now we got warm feet because we got all the socks.
That's right.
We could ever want.
Yes. That's where it started from, and I think we have kind of expanded into like vending machines now. Custom socks obviously is like the biggest ticket item for us, but I think vending machine has been like I was like a saving grace. It's like such a perfect model, which if anybody's not getting into, I think people always think like vending machine is like, oh my God, you're selling snacks and stuff, man. You can sell anything on it, man. It's straight passive. You're clearing almost $1,000 to $2,000 a month with a $300 rent, and just find somebody who can just go put the socks in there. That's it. Simple.
Man. We need another podcast like this. I'm serious. I think that's highly valuable knowledge to kind of pass on. And yeah, I can see another. Every guest we're like, hey, every guest
is like, I can't wait for the next combo.
But I think that's really interesting. I think
we actually had a challenge for holidays because in the holidays, like in the mall area, they always have these like, and I always had like, man, I have a job, and I was almost done with the lease signing too. I'm like, man, in the holiday season I will do so well. And those hours are very weird. I'm like, what if the employee don't show up? Like, man, I can't leave my QBR instead of the mall kiosk. Like, I mean, then I was like like every single season would go by and I would be so sad. I was like, man, I could make so much money, but God, like I need to find somebody who's trustworthy, or even if you pay them salary, what if they're not selling? They're just sitting around there. I'm like, well, then again, like, I'm like, okay, what can I do? That's where the whole vending machine idea came in. Like, trust me, I was like, man, I need an employee. It will be there in the mall, minimum rent, no employee needed. I don't need to worry about the hours. It's $5 a pair, and they pick it up.
You know what? I'm going to give you an idea, Suresh. You want an idea outside of vending machines?
Yes.
You know what I would do? I would go to all of the hotels around the airports. I used to travel to Raleigh all the time, go to all the hotels, the Hiltons, all this stuff. They all have those little shops, right, in the hotels where you can buy, a razor if you miss one, or you can buy deodorant. Bro, I'd start finding out how to put socks, even just a few socks in each one of those hotels, because I can't tell you. I travel for work. Last year I traveled 160 nights.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how often there were moments where I was like, gosh dang it, I forgot a pair of socks. And I don't want to put on my white athletic socks to then put on my dress shoes to go cruise into a meeting, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't look good, you don't feel good. And if you don't feel good, you don't sell good.
Yes.
And man, being able to go into a hotel shop, like little concierge shop, and be like, oh, I can get a pair of socks here. I've looked before. Just throwing it out there for
I think I'm gonna run a campaign actually.
Yeah.
So it's a holiday. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Your owners, yeah. I'm gonna zoom info and find out who are the owners.
No, I've loved this conversation, Suresh, and obviously feel like there's so much more we could go into. Guys, as Carlo and I are talking to people and having these incredible conversations, getting a lot of these nuggets. One of the things that I would encourage everybody who's listening to the podcast is, with our guests, connect with them, follow them on LinkedIn, follow them on their social media of choice. Because as Suresh mentioned earlier, mentorship is free. It's free. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be a person that you have a close relationship with, but someone whose journey you watch, someone you're connected with on social media, that is maybe a little bit ahead of where you are in life, or doing the things that you want to do in life. And there's a lot of learning you can do. And what I find most amazing about, especially LinkedIn, is that when you find somebody that you want to connect with, that is sharing a message that you connect to, that is accomplished success in areas that you want to, connect with them on LinkedIn, follow them, send them a message, see if they want to hop on a 30-minute conversation just to chat and get to know each other more.
Grab a coffee,
grab a coffee with them. Because the thing is conversations like these don't have to wait for a podcast. Conversations like these you can create yourself and have those conversations. So, Suresh, I just want to say, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know, you had never heard of Carlo or I before, and we're probably like, who are these two dudes that I'm hopping on a podcast with to interview?
Now I do.
Now we know.
Now we're gonna be best friends.
Now, bro, when I come to North Carolina, dog, I'm looking you
better
up.
Call me. Yes, I would be upset if you don't call me, or at least send me a message.
I'm just over in Knoxville, dude. I'm not that far away from you. I'm just in Knoxville, Tennessee.
If I'm coming Knoxville, I'm texting you as well too, and same thing for Carlo as well. Yeah, I'm texting.
Yeah.
You. Hey, I'm in Chicago, but Suresh, I'm gonna message you, because we actually were looking to maybe move down to Cary. So
yes.
So I'll message you.
Yes, you have to. Yes.
Okay.
West Cary is a place, man.
I'd love to learn more. I need to learn more.
It's a good area. Yes.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to the Good News Podcast. Suresh, thank you so much for joining us this morning. For the people listening, if they wanted to connect with you, follow you, follow your journey a little bit more, what is the best way for people to be able to follow you and your journey, and even shout out to Exec Socks? What's the best way for people to connect and get to know you more?
I think LinkedIn is the best one. I actually post. I'm very active on it. I post like almost multiple times a day, or multiple times in a week. It's Suresh Bhagchandani. I think if you search, I think I should be the only one. I don't think there's anybody else with that same last name. But no, I look forward to connecting with everybody, and I think I do want to say thank you for inviting me. I hope all of you guys have a happy holidays. It's actually a holiday time, so enjoy time with family, and
thank you.
Kind of like count your blessings that, hey, we still live in the best country ever, and we have a freedom, and we get to choose lots of things that we want.
I love it. Guys,
thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Good News Podcast. What an incredible episode. Like, share, comment, connect with Suresh. We are so grateful that you take the time to tune in and listen to us talk about all things marketing and sales. And until next time, we'll talk soon.
Yeah.